Hello, and welcome to our podcast, episode number 106, Epic Science Fiction Adventure with a stunning visual style and iconic characters. I am Timothy, and I am here with my old friend Thomas. Tonight, we are going to talk about The Fifth Element. A warm welcome to you, dear viewer, to our film night.
The Fifth Element is a 1997 science fiction action film directed by Luc Besson, about a cab driver named Corbin Dallas, who becomes embroiled in an intergalactic adventure involving an ancient evil, a priestly order, and the titular Fifth Element. To start with, I quite enjoyed the film, as I generally like science fiction. But, Tim, so, did you enjoy The Fifth Element?
Well, Tom, I am afraid we'll have to agree to disagree on that one, my friend. While I appreciate some of the visual aspects of the film, especially the futuristic world building and the unique design of the spaceships and technology, overall, it just didn't captivate me. The plot for me felt too convoluted and hard to follow. Even after two viewings, I found myself more distracted by the chaotic action scenes and over-the-top special effects than being drawn into the story.
Oh, come now, Tim. It's a science fiction adventure movie, not a historical drama. And as far as special effects go, they were groundbreaking at the time. But I do see your point about the plot being a bit convoluted. Maybe if you would have watched it with me, I could have explained things more clearly.
Well, that's why we're here, aren't we? To share our differing opinions and hopefully learn something new along the way. So, Tom, let's talk about one aspect of the film that did catch my attention. What were your thoughts on the character of Lilu, played by the stunningly beautiful Mila Jovovich?
Oh, Lilu, now there's a character who stole the show for me. She goes from being a naive and innocent creature to a fierce and determined warrior. And the chemistry between her and Corbin Dallas? It was electric. As for Mila Jovovich herself, she absolutely nails the role of an otherworldly goddess-like being. Her combination of strength, vulnerability, and sensuality is just mesmerizing. Timothy, I know you're not a big fan of science fiction, but even you have to admit that the visuals in this film are simply breathtaking. From the futuristic city of New York City to the sleek and futuristic spacecrafts, every frame is brimming with imagination and attention to detail. And let's not forget the action sequences. The famous E-tube scene where Lilu first learns about gravity and her subsequent escape from a futuristic prison is still one of the most iconic scenes in science fiction cinema history. So, Timothy, do you think maybe you've been a bit unfair to The Fifth Element? Maybe it deserves another chance?
Well, Tom will admit that some aspects of the film were indeed visually stunning, and the special effects for their time were impressive. But for me, the story just didn't hold together enough to fully immerse me in this world that Besson had created. And as much as I appreciate a good action sequence, I found myself more distracted by the chaos than truly invested in the characters or their journey. Now, let's talk about the soundtrack for a moment. It was composed by an electronic music legend, right?
Yes, Timothy. The score was composed by the French electronic music pioneer Jean-Benoit Douty, better known as Daft Punk. And it perfectly complements the futuristic vibe of the film. It's a mix of orchestral and electronic sounds that really transports you to the world of The Fifth Element.
I must confess, Tom, that while I don't typically listen to electronic music, I did find myself humming some of the more memorable tracks from the film's soundtrack after watching it. It definitely added a layer of depth to the overall experience, even if it wasn't enough for me to fully embrace the film as a whole. But let's move on to another interesting trivia tidbit about The Fifth Element. Did you know that one of the most iconic props in the film, Lilu's divine outfit, was actually designed by the legendary French fashion designer named...
Oh, yes. That was Jean-Paul Gaultier himself. and it perfectly captures Lilu's alien yet sensual aesthetic. It's made of a shimmering silver material that clings to her body, accentuating her curves and emphasizing her otherworldly beauty. The corseted top and thigh-high boots give her an almost military feel, contrasting with the flowing skirt that drapes over her legs. It's truly a masterpiece of science fiction fashion.
I can appreciate good fashion when I see it, Tom, even if it's a bit outside my usual taste. So let's talk about one aspect of The Fifth Element where we both seem to agree on its quality, the soundtrack. As you mentioned earlier, it was composed by the legendary electronic music duo Daft Punk. And boy, does their talent shine through in this film. The score is a perfect blend of futuristic synthesizers and orchestral elements that perfectly capture the film's science fiction essence. One of my favorite tracks from the soundtrack is Le Parcours. It's an intense, action-packed piece that accompanies some of the film's most thrilling chase scenes. The fast-paced rhythm and driving electronic beats really get your adrenaline pumping as you watch the characters speed through the futuristic cityscape. Another standout track for me is Funky D, which perfectly captures the film's retro-futuristic aesthetic. The infectious disco groove and funky bass line transport you back to the 70s while still sounding futuristic and fresh. It's a masterful blend of old and new, much like the film itself.
You know, Timothy, I think we actually agree on something regarding The Fifth Element. The soundtrack is truly exceptional. Daft Punk's ability to seamlessly integrate electronic sounds with classical elements creates an immersive sonic landscape that enhances every scene in the film. And your mention of Le Parcours brings me to one of my favorite action sequences in all of cinema, the famous tube scene. The pounding bass and frantic synthesizers perfectly capture Lilu's panic as she tries to adapt to Earth's gravity. And when that track transitions into an even more intense, adrenaline-pumping theme during her daring escape from the prison, it elevates the already thrilling chase scene to new heights. And then there's Funky. Do you hit the nail on the head with your description of its retro-futuristic vibe? It's a testament to Daft Punk's talent that they can take a genre typically associated with disco and make it sound both nostalgic and futuristic at the same time. So, Timothy, given our shared appreciation for the film's soundtrack, do you think there might be some redeeming qualities in The Fifth Element after all? Perhaps we should give it another chance sometime soon.
Well, Tom, I do have to admit that the film does boast an impressive cast filled with talented actors and actresses who bring their best to their respective roles. Let's start with our protagonist.
Yes, the charismatic, played by the ever-so-suave. His portrayal of a wisecracking ladies' man rogue thief turned reluctant hero is simply masterful. He brings an air of charm and charisma to the otherwise grim future world of The Fifth Element. His chemistry with his on-screen partner in crime is electric, and their banter is witty and entertaining throughout the film.
I will give you that, Tom. They do have a certain chemistry together, but let's not forget about one of the most iconic characters in all of science fiction. She is perfectly portrayed by the stunning Am, who brings an otherworldly beauty and innocence to the role of the alien warrior princess. Her graceful movements and expressive eyes captivate the audience, especially during her iconic Lilu scene.
Oh, Timothy, how could I forget about the legendary? His portrayal of the cold, ruthless villain who seeks to unleash chaos upon the universe is chillingly brilliant. His menacing presence and sinister laughter send shivers down my spine every time I watch the film. He truly embodies the archetype of a megalomaniacal antagonist.
Well said, Tom, well said. And last but certainly not least, we have portrayed by the talented Am. His character is a conflicted and troubled man who finds redemption in the face of imminent destruction. He brings depth to what could have been a cliched role, making him relatable and sympathetic despite his flaws. These exceptional performances by the cast elevate The Fifth Element from being just another action-packed science fiction flick to a cinematic masterpiece that continues to captivate audiences decades later. So, Tom, what do you think? Are there any other aspects of the film or its characters that we've overlooked?
Oh, I almost forgot to mention the film's visuals. Truly brought The Fifth Element's futuristic world to life with breathtaking sets and costumes that perfectly capture the movie's neo-noir cyberpunk aesthetic. Every frame of the film is a feast for the eyes, from the bustling metropolis up to the grimy underbelly up. Every detail has been painstakingly crafted to create an immersive and captivating environment. And let's not forget about the iconic design language that has since become synonymous with the film, inspiring countless imitations in both science fiction and popular culture at large.
Well said, Tom, well said. The Fifth Element is a cinematic masterpiece that transcends time and genre, leaving an indelible mark on cinema as a whole. Its impact on science fiction films can be seen in countless productions released afterward. From many directors have tried to replicate its unique blend of action-adventure and romance, but none have come close to matching its sheer brilliance. Even today, nearly years later, The Fifth Element remains as fresh and relevant as ever, proving that sometimes a truly groundbreaking piece of art transcends mere entertainment and becomes an undeniable cultural phenomenon. So, Tom, what do you think? Is there anything else we've overlooked about the film or its impact on cinema?
Well, Tim, I must admit that despite my initial reservations, there is no denying the cinematic brilliance of The Fifth Element. Its visionary storytelling, breathtaking visuals, and iconic characters have earned it a place among the greatest science fiction films ever made. However, I still stand by my previous statement that it's more of an action-packed adventure flick than a true masterpiece of the genre. But hey, we can always agree to disagree, right?
Indeed, Tom, indeed. And that's what makes our discussions so entertaining, don't you think? We may not always see eye to eye, but it's these disagreements that keep things interesting and engaging for our loyal audience. So before we wrap up today's episode, I just want to leave our viewers with a few thoughts. Firstly, do yourself a favor and go watch The Fifth Element if you haven't already. It's a cinematic ride that you won't regret taking. Secondly, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Leave us your own thoughts and opinions about the film in the comment section below. And most importantly, share this video with your friends and family members who also enjoy a good old-fashioned debate about science fiction films. Until next time, folks.
That's a wrap, Tim. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with all the science fiction geeks you know. And remember, if you want to continue the discussion or simply disagree with us, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, film lovers, live long and prosper.